Welcome to FinOps in Action. I'm your host, Alon Arvatz. Each week, I'll sit down with FinOps experts to explore the toughest challenges between FinOps and engineering. This show is brought to you by Point 5, empowering teams to optimize cloud costs with deep detection and remediation tools that drive action. Hello, everyone. Today, I'm super humbled and honored to have a very special guest. She's a strong advocate for FinOps in the Bay Area, including organizing local meetups, with deep expertise in optimizing AWS, Azure, and GCP cloud infrastructures. She has a proven track record of transforming cloud data into actionable, cost-saving insights. She's also a leader in cloud enablement, specializing in cloud automation, cost management, and data analytics. And today, she serves as a FinOps Foundation ambassador and as the chair of the FinOps Foundation Cloud Sustainability Special Interest Group. I'm proud to introduce you to the Senior Director of Cloud Financial Operations at Teradata, Bindu Sharma. Bindu, great to have you today.
Thank you, Alan. Thanks for having me.
Great, really happy to have you. And let's get straight to business. So, Bindu, as a FinOps expert, what do you think should be the FinOps practitioner's top priority?
Very good question. As a practitioner, we have, after our practitioner certification, or just as coming up to as a FinOps practitioner in your organization, our focus is always towards cost. How do we minimize the usage, the unnecessary resources to efficiently manage cost in an organization? So I believe with the focus always around cost, but how to drive that cost conscious culture in an organization is how we should come out to our organization or try to build that practice in an organization with keeping cost in mind and relating that cost to keeping the organization infrastructure efficient, but how to relay it outside, working with other department or other stakeholders or other department, the team leaders that you work with, how to establish that culture is the biggest challenge or is the biggest quality that we should aspire to as a practitioner.
So, Bindu, you obviously put a lot of emphasis on culture and working with engineers. Do you have a certain tip you would give FinOps practitioners on how to do it right?
I would say, Alan, every organization is different. Every FinOps person is different. So use your style. Very first thing that you should acquire is that use your style, understand what problem you're trying to solve based on the business value, and use your style to work right towards your goal. So the biggest tip is have all the ammunition in terms of how to get the cost data, how to create your reports, how to communicate those reports based on what your organization culture is, and then publish them. And so that is the biggest tip, that you need to understand with your style how you amalgamate that with the organization culture, because then it becomes easier. You're not teaching them multiple things. I already talked about the FinOps culture that you need to grow in the organization. And then if you come up with new ways of presenting data or new ways of calculating other metrics that we know as a practitioner are very essential, for showing the impact. So keep your style, but amalgamate that with the organization culture as well. So people are not surprised with too many things out there. So that is the very foremost step, I'll say. And second one is to get to that, you need to understand what is, again, the problem statement that the company is trying to solve based on their annual goals. It could be to increase the margin. It could be just to completely eliminate the waste. It could be get into a carbon conscious culture. So keep your eye focused on the problem that you're trying to solve. So those are the two foremost tips that I'll say you drive. when you go in as a practitioner, and you'll be path to success.
Awesome. And you said something that really picked up my interest. On the one hand, keep your style, and on the other hand, be adaptable and build something that will speak the engineering language. Can you share how you go about it with that? Like, what is your style and how you do these adaptations?
Okay. You're going deeper and deeper. I like that. So I'll give you a couple of examples. Number one, when I started my cloud journey, is that's when the I was learning the FinOps practice. And in those days, I would say many of us were in the learning mode. The FinOps was not established, getting to be matured practice uh, in the world. So in those days, I employed what I'm kind of, giving my thoughts on is I kept my style in terms of did not change the cadence of meeting with the engineers, the way the way they were used to of seeing any other kind of data, revenue data, ARR. They are so much used to of looking at those reports. Just add one more metric to it is the cloud cost data that we were tracking as part of FinOps team. So did not change my style, did not change their understanding of the report that they are used to see. And the second point that I talked about in my previous response is keep up to date in your technology on the problem you're trying to solve. So understanding the problem in that organization, it was uh, again getting the cost down for the cloud. That was our main focus for that particular year. So keeping the focus on the problem and keep and try to make minimal changes at the same time, try to establish the culture of what problem you're trying to solve it with. That would be really helpful. So that was, I was very closely working with the engineering team in that organization. And then a couple of, moves after, I also, the FinOps practice have become matured is when I have spokes around different departments. So now I have to, with this similar style, I have to adhere to different personas like finance, procurement, engineering, and sometimes even sales and account teams. So, how to present data, which kind of data to present to them so they understand. But the second point of it is the problem statement is always same because most of always everyone is in an organization and working towards the same business goal, but they have different actions to do it. So align your all the either reporting or the data based on your persona. I hope that helps and answers your question.
It helps a lot and it's very interesting. I actually want to take you to the first part of what you said. So sounds like you didn't give up your standards of cadence meetings, of reporting, of meeting with everyone to see everything is on track and aligned. And I would like to ask you if you think it's part of the FinOps role to actually build the right standard across the organization, and whether you faced maybe any pushbacks from your colleagues in the past, and how did you go about it?
It has been, and this is, about like this is my third time around when I'm trying to establish the FinOps practice. It has always been, even till today, is an iterative process. But for FinOps, there are two major things that when we start is visibility and accountability, right? Get the visibility out there of what the current state is, and then find who is accountable. Now, with that, two kind of principles for FinOps people to follow. Um, what is happening? What happens is you continuously have to change. Uh, Sometimes they do not want weekly cadence. Sometimes they want monthly cadence. So you have to be super agile, and it can be by department, or a group by group, or even by individual. Sometimes you just work with other data engineers. So that could be like, oh, I need data twice a day or once a day. So it's very iterative. You have to keep it very agile with the focus on visibility and accountability, because that is your stepping stones, and that will get you to your next steps of what problem again you're trying to solve, the culture you are trying to change, and such. So it still is, even though we establish the cadence or the reporting or new reports coming in or expiring the older reports, it is continuously changing. And that's why you have to stay connected with your audience. And for you, most of the departments in your organization are your stakeholder, are your audience.
And you talk a lot about data and visibility, and I want to double click on the interaction with engineers when it comes to data and visibility. So, when you interact with engineers, do you feel like you need to go beyond the financial data and go into giving them more insights into the infrastructure level? Or you say, no, infrastructure is your thing. I'm only taking care of the financial data, and that's it.
To be honest, let me put it in two folds. It works both ways, and both ways works in your favor. So one way is, okay, I have set up this cadence with you. I'll send you reports weekly for particular initiative. For another work stream, I'll send you this reporting till it gets matured, and you set up all those cadence, and then you say, okay, let me move on to another task. And the second fold to it, if you add that, okay, this is the cost impact and it is related to this resource in this region, and this is the owner that I have identified. And on top of it, if you have continuous monitoring, you can say week over week or month over month, I'm seeing this progression. It could be, upward or downward. It gives them confidence in you, and they was like, okay, Bindu, can you handle this for me? Just give me who to reach out to, and I'll get the Jira started. Or after maybe then 3 or 6 months, you go one step forward and say, can I just submit a Jira for that? It works two folds. So again, I'm trying to bring the point back to kind of a, focus on understand your style, how you can help solve the problem, and what our organization needs. There could be that organization will not allow, other than their engineering organization, to submit a JIRA, but it can be changed if they see the confidence in you that, yes, open it up for the FinOps team.
That's awesome advice. And Bindu, you talked about confidence and being agile and adaptable to the engineers, which is obviously very important. We hear that a lot all the time. Do you think that in parallel, there is also a need for top-down efforts, meaning talking with the executive and the engineer organizations, or maybe other executives on the finance side, to make sure engineering are measured and being motivated and pushed to take action on FinOps related tasks?
Absolutely. It's top down, bottoms up approach. It is coming tops down. When I'm saying what problem I'm trying to solve, that goal is coming from top down. That is coming from executive, right? So when I'm saying all these things and establishing the FinOps culture, I have already aligned our strategy with them. So the leadership, executive, or the leadership, management leadership already are aligned with my strategy. It has been vetted, and they have their own assignments, how to trickle it down to their management team and then down to the engineering level, that whatever metric they are using to measure to get to this goal, it could be, the compensation related, it could be performance related, it could be another things. That's up to them how they handle it. But I can just give them ideas. I can create some, game books and such, some playbooks for ideas for them, and they can take any of those. But it is always a top down approach. As I mentioned, when the problem that I'm trying to solve, that goal is coming from the company leadership.
Interesting. And do you think that working with engineers, but also taking a top-down approach in parallel can create conflicts. For example, you work with an engineer on something specific, and suddenly hear it from his boss because you also talk to his boss. Is that a concern?
No concern. And that brings up to another point of alignment, another point of regular cadences. We talked about meetings with the engineers and other departments. The other part of the meeting is could be once a quarter or once a month is the leadership team who are the real stakeholders. And then maybe once a quarter with the executive leadership, maybe a one slide in the whole quarterly deck talking about the cloud financials and how FinOps is making an impact. So we are always aligned. If we are showing them what we are trying to do, we are aligned with the leadership team that what message to communicate downwards, right? So even at the engineering level, they know what problem they are trying to solve. They could be measured against different metric, but the problem remains the same. My methods could be different of how to present data and what the reports are, or which initiatives to run when, and that could create a conflict, right? Sometimes there are anomaly which it just comes up, right? Not known and just comes up. We drop everything, try to work on and that anomaly. The initiative could change. We can have a conflict based on some criteria, but the main goal still remains the same. The goal never changes. And based on that, there is no conflicts that I have ever encountered.
So sounds for you like the key is alignment. If everyone are aligned on the same data, the same KPIs, you shouldn't experience any conflicts.
Sometimes, yes. And then alignment is based on the culture, based on other practices, FinOps practices that we should um, employ in an organization. I said visibility, working with your stakeholder, communication correctly, accountability, giving them the data in timely manner. If they have all the information, I do not feel there can be a conflict.
Understood. And Bindu, you have many years of experience across multiple companies. And I wonder if you ever had a situation where you had some friction with engineering and what you learned from it.
Many times, every quarter, every month, friction is it's always there. What you learn from is how to improve. What first of all, listening to their problem, what they are coming from. You might not understand the nitty gritty of if it's a design problem or their code problem and such, but listen to them, give them time to explain. Make sure you tell them, yes, I will not understand each line of your code, but please at high level, please explain it to me why there was a lambda overrun, right? So they will be in a very good shape to explain the engineering problem. I will be in a very good shape to give them a solution in terms of that how we can establish that it doesn't happen again, because I will work either the CSPs directly, or I would have encountered that problem in the past maybe, or based on the learnings itself from our cloud certifications and all those things. Or we are out there, we are part of FinOp Foundation, we learn so many instances through Slack channel. Somebody might have faced that problem already, right? So I can also help them solve those problems. So yes, there are frictions when they do not feel that, oh, what do they know? But giving them the confidence by a good listener and giving them solutions in terms of based on your past learning. And let's say if you do not have a solution, then how do we work together to solve it? Because we can offer help by like, oh, can we put some alerts? Can we put some notifications so we get the early notification and such? So we can always help them somehow, just listening to their problem and making sure that you tell them that please explain your problem. We know we won't understand it completely, but we just want to hear it.
Understood. And Bindu, I want to share with you that you come across as a very collaborative and attentive person. Now, we all know that FinOps is about working with multiple stakeholders in different departments: finance, business, executives, engineering. Will you say that these traits of being collaborative and attentive are mandatory to be successful as a FinOps practitioner?
I cannot say generally. It depends on organization.
Mhm.
I have seen that big organization, they have centralized FinOps practice who just intake the data, give the reports at a regular cadence, and then it goes to other FinOps champions in different groups and such, and then it just trickles down. So, in some of those cases, it's not that you are collaborating with each and every group every time, but in the end, if you trickle down, you do need some traits of collaboration and working with different kind of stakeholder, or maybe just single stakeholder, but still you are working with a stakeholder for a department. So again, the bigger the organization, the structure of the FinOps team that is established in an organization, it depends on that. But in the end, there are stakeholders and there are the champions or just an individual FinOps contributor who need to have some collaboration traits that would be really helpful.
Got it. And Bindu, let's go to a different topic now. So you're leading the sustainability special interest group at the FinOps Foundation. What drove you to this area to put more effort and emphasis on sustainability?
For me, it is more personal, individual that drove me to this particular initiative. If you look back into the history of carbon conscious culture, it is more either it's company driven. I mentioned about the company goal. Maybe some companies have established 2025 goal as to be carbon neutral or carbon, you know, very focus on carbon footprint. There's some companies where it is demand from the investors. Some companies are where customers are demanding as part of their RFP, show me how much carbon this particular application consumes. So different kind of a driver for sustainability, cloud sustainability. And for me, it is individual because that is also have seen where individuals are engineers or even other department, they're asking, let's start calculating carbon that we are producing, we are using so much cloud infrastructure. How is it impacting, right, the environment? Uh, and then this initiative is initiated in the foundation, and I was thrilled. And I started devoting time and energy towards it. And it is making great progress, great adoption. We are creating great content, and we are always looking for helps out there. Please join us.
Very nice. And obviously, environment is important, and we need to take care of the world we're living in. I wonder if there is also a benefit to the organization, a business benefit to using sustainability KPIs and metrics and measurements.
Since my driver is individual, so I will not put business benefit on top of any other thing. It is for the greater good of the environment. It's good for the upcoming generations and such. But having said that, all the other drivers that I talked about, right? The customers are asking for it, so that's a good business driver. If you can, if your RFP sells just with that reason, you have made a deal, right? So it will, in the end, one way or the other, will help us as an individual, either through business or through as a person, and it's for the greater good. So to answer in short, yes.
The reason I'm asking is because I also heard in the past people share with me that sustainability impact help them drive action across the board. So they're having challenges with driving, for example, cost optimization efforts. And when they add the sustainability aspects, that helps drive action because maybe engineers are less sensitive to the cost of infrastructure, but they're more sensitive to the world their grandchildren will live in. I wonder if this is something you also experienced in Teradata or in other places you worked at.
Absolutely. Because as I mentioned, presenting the data to the customer, presenting the data to the investor, and then for individual, when you want to drive that initiative in your organization, you need the data. So that is the whole the cloud sustainability SIG group is trying to solve. Like you're giving your reports. Just add one more column in the end, the carbon impact. It depends. So they are not, the carbon, sometimes saving carbon, you have to pay the cost. They are not like, okay, saving cost is also save carbon directly. So in that regard, it gives them an option to make a decision that what is more impactful should where do we go, but in the end data is the king. Give them the carbon data so they can make a right decision that aligns with the organization goals.
That's great. And that's a really important job. And Bindu, on behalf of my grandchildren, I would like to thank you on that. And from here, take it to a completely different place. So, on one of our conversations in the past, you mentioned that today it is very, very hard in the FinOps space to understand which tools you should choose. There are so many tools, so many vendors. Everyone says they're doing everything. So I wonder what is your strategy to go through the noise and find what is right for you?
Understand what your needs are. There are plethora of tools out there which offer and with the niche capability on a particular area, but they lack on the other, and you need both. So I have seen you will need multiple tools, and I have also seen you will need a tool plus some capability that is built in house that you need to develop according how your application is set up, how your infrastructure is set up. So I've seen all sorts of combination. Some who are just starting off, they just need the visibility into cloud spend, the usage metrics, and some unit metrics. They can just live by a single cost management tool. But some companies who have established very complex infrastructure, many application, many chargeback, many forecasting, many budgets to manage, I have seen them having multiple tools. And then also with an added in-house developed uh, tool that you use. So some platforms available from a third-party vendor, some in-house tools that they build just maybe for a particular department, and then try to converge all of them, and then again create an in-house tool for the visibility of whole um, the whole reporting or whoever their department audience is in that organization. So it's not a straight solution. You have to understand what your needs are, and then go from there.
And then go from there and find the right blend between what you build in-house and what you take from an external vendor, right?
Correct. Correct.
That's actually a great tip. Thank you. And let's go to the future of FinOps. So, Bindu, where do you see FinOps evolving in the next 5 years?
If I think about it, I have not come up with the one. I still see two paths. So I'm just going to give what I feel so far. I feel number one, uh, establishment that I see is like for most of the organization, doesn't matter small, medium, or big, there will be an established FinOps department like we have. We are so much used to procurement, finance, engineering. So feel there'll be one just the cloud focused, and that because now with the AI development, we are seeing some of the on-prem, coming back. So I'll see they'll be focused and just think, that will be their charter for the centralized one FinOps department. The other one I see that is we'll have these champions in each of these other organizations. So that is like in procurement, we'll have a FinOps champion who has all the knowledge of FinOps in the back. They can bring their playbooks, they can bring their experience in the procurement, finance, and engineering and product development, and they will provide all the guidance, and then these departments can then define their charter uh, for again cloud conscious culture, or thinking cost in mind when making any decision. So I still see two paths, and each of them I see carbon embedded. Like if I have pillar for FinOps department, they will take care and focus on carbon as well. And these champions, if have the second path, they will also have carbon in mind.
Very interesting. So, Bindu, let's move to talk a bit about you and not about FinOps. So, first of all, we already mentioned that you live in the Bay Area in San Jose, correct?
Correct.
Very nice. You have a rich experience in the tech industry, and you actually started in Netscape, which we all grew on Netscape, which is really, really cool, I have to say, especially for a geek like me. And you also got your master's degree in computer science.
Mhm.
Now, if I take you to the day you got your computer science degree, and I'm telling you now you give Bindu to just finish school one advice, what would it be?
I would say I have to take a pause here. It's always difficult. I would say keep the way that I learn things, keep the way I have pivoted as and when needed, and just continue to grow. Never stop learning, because that has helped to get here. And then never stop taking the initiative. Uh, be an active listener. That has helped me where I am here today. And I think, in an essence, do not stop learning, and do not stop growing. And it will help organizations and people that you're working with. Because I have learned a great deal from people I have worked with all along, before the cloud, and now with the cloud, and with the foundation. So just work with them, and just keep learning.
Keep
I do
learning is
not know if that was helpful, but
keep learning is a really important advice, really important one. And Bindu, what do you do outside of work?
uh, I like to entertain. I like to host. I like to socialize, meet with my friends, and spend my time, because they're also, I'm learning. I am, we are talking, laughing, and, you always learn at least one thing from every encounter that you have. So just take that part. Do not analyze, do not judge. So that's what I like to do, entertain and host. I love to cook. I have a nice Zen garden in my backyard. I like to tend to that. And there is a Buddha in my Zen garden. So just look at him. And, when you look at your Buddha, they just transmit the energy. Just take that, absorb that, and be thankful, be grateful with that.
And that's actually a great ending for this episode.
Oh,
Be thankful, very grateful. I cannot think of a better ending.
that's what.
So, Bindu, if people want to connect with you, what is the best way to do that?
I'm on LinkedIn. I'm active. So definitely that's the place to reach out to and, give me more pointers to learn.
Great. So, Bindu, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Alan, for having me. And thanks for the opportunity.
Of course. And I would like also to thank all of our listeners out there. If you learned something new today, if you had some fun, please tell someone about this podcast. Bindu, thank you again for joining us. This was another exciting episode of FinOps in Action. See you next time. That wraps up another episode of FinOps in Action. Thank you for joining. For show notes and more, please visit finopsinaction.com. This show is brought to you by Point 5, empowering teams to optimize cloud costs with deep detection and remediation tools that drive action.